Welcome back to Sicilian Sacrifices. In this video, we're going to see several white side sacrifices on e6, f5, b5, f6. As I did the Najdorf videos, Najdorf series, I really would like you to be aware of these sacrifices, not to get in traps or to use them with white if you get any chance. So let's start with a very interesting position which happened in Romero Gil Reguera game. And here white played knight f takes e6. This is a very interesting position, so let's take a moment here. If black has time to develop bishop e7, castle, then everything will be okay for him. But white opens up the files and starts an immediate attack on king, which is in the center. So knight f e6, f e6, knight e6. Black went queen a5 and bishop h3, a lovely move. White wants to castle long and bring all his pieces into attack. So black played here king f7. If, for example, knight e5 with the idea of knight f3, castle, bishop f3 doesn't work because of knight f8, rook f8 and queen d6, several threats on king. So castle, knight bc6, there is f4. We know that this knight controls the d7 square, so it cannot leave the e5 square. And after queen a2, knight c7 wins. So let's get back to the game. Bishop h3, king f7 and g6. A very strong move, making the g5 square free. hg6, knight g5, king e8 and castle. Now white is pieced down, but we can see that the king in the center is very weak and white brings all his pieces into attack. So king really doesn't have anywhere to escape. Rook h3, rook he1 with bishop b6 idea. So bishop e7, bishop f4. Well, the idea of bishop f4 is that if black rook goes on h8, then there is queen d6, and we can see that black cannot defend on e7 or has to go queen d8, and after queen d8 there is a lovely mate on f7. So bishop f4, bishop c6 was played, and after rook e7, king d8, queen e3, white won. Let's go to next example. And here we have the game of Sachs against Berlin. So the bishop on d7 is attacking the knight on a4. A typical Najdorf position, I would say, because white attacks on king side and black attacks on queen side. But here white has a little trick. White is not obliged to play b3, so there is a very good idea of knight b6. Double attack, but also this knight is hanging on b6. So if rook b8, then white simply takes on d7. But let's see what happens on queen b6. Knight e6. Queen has to go. Knight g7. Now white took 2 pawns in a piece, but the king is very weak again in the center. So king d8 and e5 opens up the d file. In case of d takes e5, bishop f5 wins. Knight e8 was played, and after knight f5, d5, knight e7, king e7, bishop g5. King has to go back to f8 and queen e3. White brings another piece into attack, and he really didn't have any problem to win this game. So let's see another example. And here we see that white is already ready to attack the king. The bishop is very good on g5, and the rook is simply perfect. But we still need some resources. Bishop h6 is no good because black simply can play g6. So what happens? We need d5 square. How can we get the d5 square? After knight f5, black cannot take ef5 because after bishop f6, we have knight d5, and if queen goes to b7, knight f6. We see that the pawn is pinned on g7, so white gets the piece back and is left in winning position. b4 was played in the game of Vach-Gralka. Queen d4. Now there are going to be tactics on g7. So after bc3, bishop f6, cb2, king b1, ef takes f5, bishop f6 is no good after queen f6, and black cannot defend the g7 square. So ef5, rook g7, king f8, and rook h7. Black cannot defend the mate, bishop f6, queen f6, and rook h8 is the mate. Let's see our next example. And here we have the game of Frazen versus Haunsner. Knight f5, a very interesting move. What happens after ef5? ef5 and knight e5. White takes the bishop on b7, and after knight b7, white has a very good move, rook e5, using the fact that after de5 there is a mate on d7. Bishop b7, f6 was played in the game, rook e5 still. F5 is no good after bishop c6, king f7, queen d5, and there is a mate on e6. So d5 and bishop c6. Mating black king, so king has to go on f7, and after queen d5, black cannot escape the mate. So now let's see another type of sacrifices. In this position, there are no dark squared bishops. The d6 pawn is weak and the king is still in the center. So white uses the fact, and after bishop b5, a b5, knight d b5, we can see that queen b6, knight d6, white already took 3 pawns in a piece, and the king in the center is very weak. So after king f8, knight b7, queen b7 is not possible because of queen d8 mate. Knight bc6 was played in the game of Bozic-Melorovich, but knight d6, rook d8, and knight c4, a very good move attacking the queen on b6. We see that white has 3 pawns and is completely winning. So let's see now another example. I love this example very much. This happened in the game of Murray against Ravieshar. So after, well, first of all, I should mention that the rooks are very active, and this bishop might be very good after the exchange sacrifice on g7. But now if we sacrifice the exchange on g7, it won't give us anything. So knight f5. What is the point of knight f5? If e takes f5, then we have rook g7. And we see that king g7 is not possible because of bishop d4 check. King f8, rook h8, king e7, bishop f6 mate. If on rook g7, black wants to take on b3, then another rook comes on 7th rank, and bishop e6 doesn't help because of ef, gf, and ab. We see how white improved his position. He has dark squared bishop, and bishop d4, rook h8, bishop f6 can be very dangerous for black. So g takes f5, e takes f5, e takes f5, and rook g7. Still with the same idea. King g7 is not possible. After bishop d4, well, king can go on g6, but after f4, white defends the g5, and rook h6 is the threat. So rook h8, bishop h8, rook h8, rook h8, white is winning. So rook g7, knight b3, and rook h7. White rook is on h7 with tempo, so bishop e6 and g6. F takes g6 is not possible because of bishop h6, and rook h8 is the idea. So in the game was played king e7, bishop g5, king d7, and g takes f7, rook f8, and a b3. And white eventually won the game. Let's go to another example. And here we have the same position, the similar position, which we saw in the previous examples. King in the center, the pawn on d6 is weak, so it gives possibility to white to sacrifice on b5. Bishop b5, a b5, knight db5. Here are many games on queen e7, but in this particular game in Perez-Duran, queen a5 was played, and after knight d6, king e7, queen h5 comes with double attack. g6, queen g5, f6, queen h6, white won the game. Let's see the next example, and this is my game against Baikidze. Here, I remember this game very well because I'm not an e4 player, so somehow I decided to play e4 in this game, so it was a little bit exam for me. I got this position out of Najdorf, and here I have a very good chance to sacrifice a piece and get the b5 square. I took on f6 first, so that bishop takes on f6, because after knight f6 there is queen g7 and I'm just pawn up. So bishop f6, and now we can see that the bishop left e7 square, which means d6 pawn is not defended. After bishop a6, black has to take on a6 and knight b5. With the same idea, to take the d6 pawn, after bishop b5, knight b5, queen c5, white just takes on d6, and on king b8, knight f7. There is a double attack on the rooks. So my opponent decided to play bishop c3. Was a very wise choice to sacrifice the queen, but knight c7, bishop e1. I had to play here queen e1, king c7, queen c3, and take on g7. But I made a mistake and went for another bishop, which is on a6, and eventually drew the game. And now let's see a very famous example of Lasker pairs. Here Lasker took rook f6, g takes f6, and after queen h5, it turns out that the king has nowhere safe place to go. If king e7, there is again a brilliant move, knight f5, so we need the d5 square, and ef5, knight d5, king d8, we have another bishop which comes on b6, and king d7, queen f7, king c6, queen c7. Black cannot avoid the mate, or he loses the queen. So after queen h5, king d7 also is bad due to queen f7, bishop e7, and knight f5 with the same idea, but now the queen on f7 pins the e6 pawn. So rook e8, just rook d1, and white is completely winning. And queen h5, king d8 was played in the game. Queen f7 attacks the f6 pawn. Bishop e7 does not help because of the same idea with knight f5, queen c7, and knight a4. Now bishop b6 is a deadly threat. So queen f7, bishop d7, Lasker took on f6, king c7, queen h8, bishop h6, knight e6, a very brilliant move, because after queen e6 we have queen a8. The point of knight e6 was that after queen a8 Black has bishop e3, king h1, and bishop d4. So knight e6 just took the pawn on the way. Queen e6, queen a8, bishop e3, and king h1. So white won. I hope you really enjoyed the examples, and I hope you won't get in a trap if you play neither in this kind of sacrifices, or if you have any chance to sacrifice, you will use it. Thank you for watching.